Hey, this is Dana at Dana's Fine Jewelry, telling you a little story. Some people know how I got started, some people don't. My grandparents had Gregory Jewelers here in downtown Newton from like the 80s to the 90s, no, sorry, from the 70s to the 80s, and they went completely out of business. It broke my heart because I worked in the store. You know, I was around here since I was 6 years old and up and followed my grandparents around and watched what they do. And I loved and fell in love with jewelry. Well, they sold the store, so I went to CBCC for nursing. It was when everybody was in nursing. I was on a 2-year waiting list to get into the microbiology and all the different stuff you had to take. Well, in the meantime, one of the guys that used to sell jewelry to my grandparents called me and offered me a job in Virginia. So I was like, heck yes. So that's really what I wanted to do, was the jewelry thing. So I moved to Roanoke, Virginia, and I sold jewelry to jewelry stores. We went around and did shows where vendors would come and buy from us and we would sell them jewelry. I did that for probably about 3 years or so. And then I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I worked in a manufacturer. I had nothing but non-speaking Vietnamese guys that I was trying to communicate with. That was very interesting, but I learned a lot of great guys. I have a great guy that does our watch repair now. He's a Vietnamese. He learned it from his grandfather. Then I also have another guy that does our jewelry repair, and they're all just awesome guys. So basically that's how I got started. Is I moved to Charlotte, worked in a manufacturer, watched them make gold. It was back then when we did waxes where they'd actually cut the waxes out. Then they would pour the gold in the wax and then make these big trees of rings. It was amazing just to see all that. But getting to the point of the story, God led me this way. It wasn't time for me when my grandparents first sold the store. I was upset about that, but now I know why I had to go my little trail that I did, because I went off and I learned. You know, selling jewelry to jewelry stores, meeting all my manufacturers, meeting a lot of good contacts. Then working in Charlotte, learning and seeing how the gold and everything was made, and meeting my amazing Vietnamese guys. Then my mom called me, it was in December, I remember. She called me and said the building my grandparents had was available for sale. So I was 24, scared to death, but I knew this is what I wanted to do. I was gonna bust at the gut if I didn't. Like, I had to do this. I didn't want to be sitting in a rocking chair one day wondering what if. So in 1996, I opened Dana's Fine Jewelry, and I think it was better this way because I appreciate it. We painted the walls, pulled out the carpet, you know, did everything. And then later we knocked out some walls and made it larger. But I tell people, if you're wanting to get into something, you need to go work in that industry. I couldn't have just come out of high school and said, hey, I want to open a jewelry store. You know, I didn't know wouldn't know the first thing about it. Learning and being in the business has really helped me know and get contacts and know people. So just telling you a little bit of history about us and how I become in the jewelry business. But it is my passion and I love what I do. I love, you know, connecting with customers, seeing them get married, seeing them as little kids. Now they're like 30 years old and got kids too. Makes you feel old also. But that's my story. This is Dana at Dana's Fine Jewelry, your friend in the jewelry business.